Welcome back to the Betar Project. I'm your host, Nick Betar. Thank you once again for tuning in. Super grateful. This week, I'm joined by James Alexander. We discuss his mental health journey, which ultimately led to him attempting to take his own life. Thank God that he didn't, and he's here today to share his story. But this was a result of the pressure and expectations that society puts on us and what he ultimately put on himself. We discuss the ripple effects of opening up and sharing a story and the resources that helped him along the way. Really thoroughly enjoyed this conversation and loved being able to connect with James, and grateful to be able to have the platform to share his story. Also grateful for everyone who listens to the podcast. If it is your first time listening, thank you. I hope you guys enjoy. But before we jump in, all I ask is that you pay the fee of liking, sharing, subscribing, all that good stuff. It just helps me to continue building this podcast and take it to the next level. You can also show your support, go that next step further by signing up to my Patreon for as little as $5 a month. Along bonus perks, bonus exclusive content. A link will be in the bio. But let's jump into this podcast. I hope you guys enjoy. James, welcome to the podcast, man. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to jump on.
No, my pleasure, man. Thank you for having me.
Dude, I like to start my podcast with gratefuls. What are you grateful for today?
Living, mate. Being alive and having something to be grateful for.
Exactly. We've been speaking a lot, and you told me about your story, man. Like, it's crazy that you're here today and you've made a massive change in your life. Let's jump into that. For people who don't know you, let's kind of go back, and you want to kind of introduce yourself and a bit of your story.
Yeah, for sure. I'm 29 years old. I've struggled with depression for about 6 years, on and off. A lot of it was, well, not a lot of it, sorry. Life happens, and when you don't deal with things as they happen, things build up. I was very good at looking after people around me and giving myself completely to things like a job, the relationship I was in. I was compromising who I was so much, overworking and then blaming the two things on each other. And then obviously I've spiraled out of control. That is essentially like how it all built up for me. But along with pressure in society and what I thought I was expected to be and do, from there, late 2019, I attempted to take my own life. Obviously unsuccessful because I'm sitting here in front of you, but a lot to take away from that night. One being able to see my son grow. Yeah, so my son, being only 5 months old at the time, I just had all these things run through my head. Once I wasn't successful, there was just like these moments like, I can't believe you just tried to do that. Can't believe that you were at the end of your road. Like, it was a real turning point for me, realizing how big him being in my life really is. And that's just, I was so consumed by the pressure of every situation that I was in that I couldn't see clearly. I couldn't think clearly. I thought my only way out was no longer existing. So obviously since then I've been able to turn it around pretty dramatically. It's been a pretty long ride, and I'm just lucky that I've got the friends and family around me and been able to repair a lot of relationships that were frayed through that process. When you live like I was, where I was telling everyone I was okay and nothing was ever wrong, I was the happy guy who made everyone else smile. When you tell them what you did, it really scares people away, and it like freaks them out, because if you can do that, who else is doing that? Or are they, like, it sparks its own little battle inside themselves as well in some cases. I had people apologising to me in case they put pressure on me when that wasn't obviously necessary. It's been a hell of a ride, man. I'm lucky that through the process of actually pre-attempting to take my own life, someone from my gym, her name's Amy, she really was pushing me to get help. I did go see a GP, and I did get a mental health plan put in place, got a referral for a psychologist, but I wasn't getting the engagement that I thought that I needed from the psychologist. So I thought that was it. I thought that's how it was. So I didn't continue. straight away. I did end up eventually going to a different psychologist, and then again and again until I found the right one. It was actually the sixth psychologist that I went to that is still I still speak to them once a month for maintenance and just keeping me in check. But yeah, if I hadn't had those conversations then, it wouldn't have even been a thought in my mind that I should get help.
So you touched on psychologists. It took you 6 goes to get a psychologist, and I've found it a lot of times when I've spoken to people. It does take, for you have to really connect to that psychologist. It may take 1 or 6 goes like you to actually find the right one for you. How do you actually go about finding psychologists?
Well, see, the first 2 that I went to were referred to by my GP. I was referred to, rather. And to me, they were both like, it's not fair to say they weren't interested, but it felt like that to me. It felt like they were just listening to what I was saying, but not really like establishing how they can help me or like connecting with me. So then I asked a few friends who I'd known had help previously. And just the way I ended up finding the one that I stuck with was actually just from Google. I didn't want to give up after what I'd been through. When you attempt to take your own life and you realize how valuable life really is, and that's that's the thing that's going to help you steer your ship in the right direction. You don't give up on it. I wish it didn't have to take that for me to get to that point, but it did for me. That's probably a little bit extreme because there are a lot of people out there that get to it before that point. So I'd love to know how they did it myself. That was how it went for me.
And for people listening, like, don't be ashamed if it does take, 6 goes to find the right psychologist, because at the end of the day, it's your mental health. If you either connect with them or you don't. If you don't connect, move on. Like, it's not you. Like, when you're taking care of your mental health, you really got to connect with these psychologists. If not, you're not really going to open up and you're not going to get the most out of it and really help yourself. So don't be ashamed. It may take 1 go, it may take 6 goes like James. But yeah, just keep pursuing and you'll get there.
Definitely. I think you need to treat it like friendships, right? Like if you meet someone and you're having a chat and they're completely disinterested in you, or you're not interested in the same things as them, you're not just going to sit there and tell them your whole life story and open up to them, are you? Like, yeah. You're not meant to be best mates with your psychologist, but there does need to be a human connection because you're about to give them everything that you haven't given anyone else. So that's so important that you don't just quit on the journey because it's not that person.
100%. Exactly. Now, let's go back a bit. You said, what led you to wanting to take your life was, the pressure and from society and family or whatever. Who did you think you had to be?
I thought I had to be the successful business person. I thought I had to be making X amount of dollars. I thought I had to provide everything for like the home life. Thought I had to be the best husband, like flawless father. I still needed to do things for me like exercise and all that sort of stuff. And I started abandoning the things that were for me, like exercising, or like if I did do them, I'd feel guilt. I felt this overwhelming pressure that I had to be this amazing person that makes no mistakes and there's no problems in his life. He's always happy and makes everyone else around him happy, which is almost impossible to do. I would imagine it is impossible, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. And I can relate to that. So many men can relate to that. The pressure of, you have to be the breadwinner. You got to be so successful and do all this stuff in a certain timeline. But if you're not looking after yourself, whether that be, mentally, physically, whatever the case may be, you can't be the best father, you can't be the best wife, you can't be the best friend, son, you can't be the best version of you if you're not looking after yourself. So it's not selfish to put yourself first. You really have to put yourself first, look after yourself, so then you can look after others.
Definitely agree. Definitely. And like myself, I wouldn't say I turned to it to depend on it, but I definitely started drinking more. It wasn't like I was drinking myself to get smashed every night, but I would definitely have 2 or 3 beers every night when I didn't need to. just little things like that you put in, and then your body starts changing, obviously, in a negative way, and then you start hating what you look like. It's such a negative spiral.
It's a ripple effect. You're trying to mask your pain, and then it just keeps building. Tension builds until one day it's just going to explode.
100%. And for me, it did, obviously.
Yeah, and thank God, you're here today to be able to tell your story.
And I've never been more grateful for anything in my life.
That's awesome. And on the whole ripple effect thing, by you telling your story, by you coming on here today, being vulnerable, opening up, it actually allows others to, the listeners to realize, hey, if these guys can talk about mental health and suicide and all that kind of stuff, all right, maybe I can open up about my story, and they may open up, and it's just a ripple effect of everyone opening up and then normalizing the fact that everyone goes through mental health issues in life.
100%. And I think what's important there as well is, before today, you and me had never spoken in person. We'd message back and forth, and obviously you'd read my story and stuff, and I've listened to your podcasts, but we've never actually had a face-to-face conversation like this. Yet I'm completely now in a point where I'm comfortable telling you any details. There's going to be people that go one of two ways with opening up, though. There's going to be people that can only talk to someone that they love and trust dearly with their entire life, and they'll only have one or two people that they can trust to tell that story to. And then there's people who are just going to who can only say it to people who don't know that person in a intimate way, because it's not going to impact their life if they judge them. I think that's how it comes across.
Yeah, I can relate on that, because there was a time in my life where, I couldn't talk to people close to me, but I could go on social media and talk to someone and fully open up. And I was like, why can't I do this to people close to me? And as you said, you don't care if you get judged because you don't bloody know them.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Something similar for me, my parents didn't know, my brother and sister didn't know about the suicide attempt. The way I came out and talked about it was, I got to a point, I had a close friend who I discussed a few things with, but never went into the full detail. But she really pushed me, because I had this idea that I wanted to do an event where I would take the weight off mental health, which eventually comes up later, obviously. But the concept was wearing a weight vest, walking 81.5 kilometers to represent the stigma that we all walk around with attached to mental health issues. I created an event on social media, typed up my story from start to finish, and just hit post. And that's how everyone found out around me. My phone went absolutely mental, and I probably should have approached it differently, but I didn't know how to start those conversations with so many people so close to me. So I just went, here we go, let's just go like this. And it has had the biggest ripple effect I've ever seen. It's absolutely insane. I'm so happy.
It's crazy what can happen when you actually be vulnerable and share your story. As you said, ripple effect. It's awesome. And
absolutely.
And that's how you use social media in a great way to connect with people and share your stories and hopefully have an impact on someone's life. Yeah,
for sure. And I had a couple of people think I was doing it for attention, which was just come on.
Always the way, bro.
Yeah, and it is what it is. But the fact that so many people reached out and I didn't even know half of them, to tell me their own story or give me a little bit of information about where they've struggled and stuff in life, it's invaluable. I don't care about those 2 or 3 people that have come at me now, because I'm look around you. You're the old one out here, not me.
Yeah, exactly. But on another note, for those people, you kind of got to have empathy for them, because if they're putting shit on you, they obviously have their own internal issues going on, and maybe they're jealous that you took that step to actually share your story, and they're still stuck in keeping all their emotions in. So that's why they're trying to bring you down because they feel bad that they're not able to open up about their story. So you gotta have empathy to them, because sad reality is people that put shit on others usually have their own internal issues.
Yeah, and a couple of the 3 they're pretty insecure kind of people, which is and that's their own thing, but they'll work it out eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just around them, they have to.
And so on mental health, as you mentioned, you no one kind of knew about what you were going through, and it's always the people that you least expect it from, because they're always happy, or they're focused on their goals or whatever the case may be. They're the people you really got to check up on, because people who have depression are not going to go, hey, I have depression, look at me. No, they're going to act like totally normal. And
Yeah, 100%.
that's why I hate, like, people are chucking around the terms, I'm depressed and shit like that. And it takes the piss out of people who actually are suffering, because people who are suffering do not fucking announce it to the world. And
Yeah.
and it's great to see the conversations about mental health, but there needs to be a balance of, like, actually taking it serious, not just saying, hey, I got depression because I had a bad day or I had a breakup. Like, it's normal to feel bad and be upset. Doesn't mean you're depressed.
Yeah, correct. I think, yeah, you pretty well nailed that. There's a massive difference between being sad and having a shit day and needing help for depression. Like, when you're in that point, or you're past that point, sorry, that person's not going to just be like, oh, having such a shit life. Like, it's so much bigger than a bad day. But, like, at the same time, those are depressive feelings. So, like, we can't completely dismiss them, and we should keep an eye on them. But, like, they come and go pretty quickly. A bad day ends at the end of the day.
Exactly. Now, you mentioned you walked, how many kilometers did you walk with that vest?
81.5 kilometers as a 9 kilo weight vest. So.
Wow, dude, that's a massive achievement. How long did that take?
I had, including the 4 programmed breaks, like, along the way, it was 19 hours start to finish. So
Shit.
pretty wild day, actually. I had 6 people start with me, and throughout the day, including those 6, I had up to 25 people join in for portions of it. But I had 2 of the guys who started with me walk the whole thing by my side, start to finish, and I think only those 2 will appreciate how hard that actually was. Like, there was a point of our knees were no longer bending, and our muscles were all cramping, and feet were blistered. It was just, but got to 60 kilometers and we were like, yep, you can't stop now. Everything was broken. Like, but it's not so much, like, I had people coming up to me in the walk saying, you don't need to finish this. You've done your point. Like, we get it. I'm like, I need this more than you think.
Yeah.
I need to prove this to me, but also everyone else.
Exactly. You set a goal, you're going to do it.
Yeah, correct.
You come that far. I know the feeling of doing long distance and your body is fucked. It's not going to get any worse, so you may as well just keep going.
Yeah, and I think for me, the walk being like an extreme distance, and I'd done like barely any training before. I announced it 6 weeks before I did the walk. There was not enough time to prepare myself for it. But, like, telling me it's okay to give up at 60 Ks, I was like, this walk is essentially, I'm like facing my battle with depression. Like, this is me going, there is no quit. You keep moving forward. So, like, I needed to prove that to myself more than anyone, I think. But, like, in my head, it was for everyone else. It wasn't until I could reflect on it after where I was like, oh, shit, you needed that more than anyone.
Yeah. It's proven a point. It's just like someone that, yourself going through depression, and you don't just go to them and go, okay, it's fine, you can take your life, you've done enough. No, you keep fucking going and you build and become the best version of you. You don't just give up.
Yeah, you fight. You fight every fucking day.
Exactly. And I'm sure now, you're still battling some of those demons every day.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Everyone, like, and we'll go into it after about my son, but, like, every day, man, like, there's always something that you look at and go, I wish I could change this. But, like, the only way you can do that is by actively sitting down, thinking about what's good and what's not good in your life, and establishing a plan to change what's bad into the good column. Like, nothing happens immediately, so you've got to establish a plan and work towards it. That's how I approach all my problems. So
that's it.
I'm not going to say it's going to work for everyone, but that's my method.
Yeah, it's just about picking out, like, getting the positive out of the negative situation, because there always is something to take out of a negative situation. You learn something about yourself or something you can do better. There's always something you can take away from it. Don't just get trapped in this victim mentality of, oh, why me kind of thing. Like, make a change, set your goals, and just go for it, because eventually you'll get there.
And that's it. And you could have like 5 things in your life that you're not happy about. If you get rid of one of those at a time, you're chipping away at that, and you eventually going to be where you want to be. So again, like the walk, just don't fucking quit. Just keep working towards it. It's not overnight. You just got to keep moving.
Now, you can go as deep as you want into this, but the day you chose to kind of want to end your life, you want to kind of go into that day, and what was it like?
Yeah, I'll definitely leave some details out just out of respect for my ex, and my son eventually, obviously. Who I do have a good relationship with my ex as well. So it's not like I was going to defame a character or anything like that. It's just like some stuff I'd like to
Fair enough.
enclose for us. To me, so I was working a job where I was with a company for 9 years. I was pretty miserable. I was working way more than I should have. Had a 5-month-old son, so I was like getting up before they would before they would wake up. I'd be at work before they would get up in the morning. I would work all day. I'd go to the gym for 45 minutes. I'd come home. They'd both been so exhausted. It was bedtime for them. Spend like half an hour to an hour and a half with them. They'd go to bed. Then I'd sit up on the couch by myself for like 3 hours, and I'd just think, fuck, I'm lonely. I'm miserable. I hate my job. I don't get to see my family. The people I care about don't know that I'm miserable. Like, obviously that was on me for not speaking up, but like, I just, in my mind, they all knew that I was miserable and they didn't care. So like, I'd convinced myself that I didn't matter to anyone. So my ex, then wife, was going home to a country town called Mount Gambier, which is like 4.5 hours out of Adelaide, where I was living at the time. She was going back every so often because her support network's there, like her mum's there, and her mum's bloody awesome. Help with our son. And I got to a point where I was like, they don't even need me. What do they need me for? I'm miserable. I hate my job. My family doesn't need me. Anyone that cares about me doesn't think, like, they know I'm not okay and they don't care. Like, no one's reaching out, blah, blah, blah. So, like, just this massive feeling, like pity party essentially for myself. And I just got to a point over probably like 3 months where I built that up and built that up and built that up. And I was just like, it's easier if I disappear rather than quit my job, tell my wife that I'm miserable, blah, blah, blah. So like that was how I got to that point. Obviously there's a lot more detail behind that. But that's like the crux of it. Yeah. I convinced myself that I didn't matter to anyone and no one cared about me. So if I was unhappy, why am I here?
Yeah.
Which was so far from the truth. So far.
Yeah. That's very hard. Like working every day and not being able to see your family, and then the real, like, thinking like they're better off without you. Sorry. Yeah, that's a shit feeling, man. And to get to,
so common, man. I guarantee it. I guarantee there's so many men and women out there that do the exact same thing. They wake up every day and think, what the fuck am I doing?
And like times like this, maybe not being able to work and stuff like that, I guess makes people realize like what actually matters in life. Being able to spend quality time with your son, daughter, your wife. We take all this stuff for granted, and we get stuck in the hustle and bustle in life that we don't actually slow down to, actually enjoy life. Like, fuck, like you have a son that, if you kept going, you wouldn't be here today. That's fucking crazy to think that.
It's disturbing. It really is. And that's like, he will forever be my lifeline. Like knowing that I'm here and I get to witness him grow into an adult eventually, and then so on, and watch him continue to grow. And just the thought of missing the last 19 months, the things that I've witnessed him do, and like even like he's starting to talk and just mutter nonsense sometimes, but like the things I would have missed out on if I was successful that night, like it absolutely rocks my boat, man. That's something that like I still every day get really emotional about, because I'm so grateful for it. And I can't believe how I got to where I got to.
Yeah. But everything happens for a reason, eh? Like, if you didn't
Oh,
go through that, you wouldn't be the person you are today and doing what you're doing. So
yeah, for
it,
sure.
it, it
Yeah,
all happens for a reason.
definitely. Yeah,
And like,
definitely.
for the listeners, like, we really need to start prioritizing happiness over, your goals, your money, business, all that kind of stuff. Because at the end of the day, you can have the business, the car, the house, the money. Your kids do not give a shit about that. Your wife doesn't care. They want your time. Like, time is more important than all that like materialistic stuff. So like for me, happiness is at top, and being able to have an impact on people's lives. Fuck money. Like, well, not fuck money because money's important, but you need to put happiness over it.
Yeah, for sure. I remember sitting on the couch, like leading up to that night, and thinking, I've never had so much. Like, I had everything we'd ever wanted. We had 2 brand new cars, house, wife, kid. Life was good. Like, there was no worries, but I was like, fuck, I feel so poor. Like, I was so unhappy with it. Like, I was like, these are just things. I'm fucking miserable.
Yeah.
If you're not happy, you don't get to enjoy any of that shit. So it doesn't matter in the end.
Yeah. You were rich materialistically, but inside you were not rich. You were
I was
poor.
fucking miserable, man.
Yeah. And as I said, just goes to show, you can have all that stuff, but if you're not happy in the inside and not working on yourself to become the best version of you and best dad, best partner, well then you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be able to enjoy those luxuries.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed completely.
Now, on you being a dad, you love your son. He lives in a different state to you, and I know a lot of fathers would be able to relate to this. Not being able to see their kids all the time. How does that have an impact on you mentally?
Yeah, I mean, I think every situation is different in this instance, right? Like, I have, and like me and my ex actually joked about it the other day. We have the most like unique relationship for people who have separated, where like we respect each other so much, and there's this mutual respect where we would do anything to help each other to be there for our son. So like, there's no animosity between us, and we both know that we've got our son's best interests at heart. So like, we FaceTime every day, if not every second day, and she'll just sit there with the phone and like follow him around the house. It could be like 20 minutes, it could be an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. Like, not many people would have the same privilege that I do, I guess, in this like awkward position where I'm in a different space to him now. Obviously, it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows. Like, when we split up, there was a bit of like, we were bickering a lot and whatever. Like, that was just us disagreeing about how life had gone, and we were both mature enough to eventually like own our shit and apologize to each other. And yeah, it's been really beneficial for us. But for me, when lockdowns aren't in place, which lockdowns can get fucked, um, the like, we don't have it. We've just got a verbal agreement between the two of us. I go to where she lives every probably 3 to 4 weeks, closer to 4 weeks, for like 3 to 4 days at a time. And I just have him the whole time. I'll like hire a house or whatever, and I'll just have 4 days straight with him, get him in the morning, return him at night at their last day. So, and like, he sees me, he runs up to me, yells like dad, and smiles and everything. So like, I'm in a very, very good position as far as that relationship and how that could look. I understand there are a lot of men and even there's a lot of women out there that don't get that privilege. They're kind of like kept on the outside, or they're not allowed to see their kid or whatever like that. So yeah, I'm not really that well versed in how that affects other people. I guess just because I am lucky. Yeah, it's. I feel like I'm bragging a little bit about that, and I'm not trying to. I am grateful for what I've got in that regard. It's hard not physically holding him every day, and that's like something that really does get to me. It makes me quite emotional when I lie down in bed at night and I think I just want to hold him and like sniff his face, because he's like, it sounds so silly, but any parent will get it. Like, you miss their physical being. So yeah, that's really the thing that gets me down, not actually physically being able to touch him every day.
Yeah, it would be hard, but as you said, you still have that awesome connection with your partner and still able to go there when lockdowns are not on. Hopefully they fuck
Yeah.
off soon. Um,
Yeah. Rough.
but yeah, as you said, a lot of relationships break down and partners get spiteful and not let others see their kids and stuff. But I don't get how people can do that to because at the end of the day, it affects the child, not them.
Tremendously. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. The first 5 years of that kid's life, it's so important to develop those relationships because their emotional responses are being built in that first 5 years. So if they're not seeing one half of their parent base, like they're missing out on a whole side of emotions that they're not getting exposed to, which eventually just means they're going to end up being the same person that one parent is. And if there's emotional problems there, they're going to probably adopt them as well. So it's pretty scary.
And like on the back of that, if they're seeing, their parents fight all the time and shit, they see that as normal and they grow up thinking like that's how relationships should be. And then as they grow up, that's how their relationships turn out. And then that's why I guess domestic violence and stuff happens, because it happens. They see it when they're younger and they think it's fine.
Definitely generational, that sort of stuff. Yeah, for sure.
So
Something that me and my ex discussed, because we both come from broken homes. Like our parents had both split up. Like hers were when she was similar age to my son, and my parents broke up when I was 3, and we had like semi-straight relationships with our fathers. So we both like understood that that pain of missing someone and not having that relationship in its entirety. So we both once we got past our own personal ego shit with the breakup, we acknowledged the fact that our son needs to have both of us in his life in any capacity that we can make work. So like what you've just said, it is so important to be able to establish that because it affects the kids so much, and her and myself are the proof of that because we have emotional problems from it happening to us as kids. So yeah, it's cool to be able to sit back and break that cycle, even though it's a similar situation in some regard.
It's awesome to see you're putting him first. You're not always going to get along, even if you were together. Your partners are not always going to get along. They're going to disagree and shit. But at the end of the day, you got to put your child first because as you said, the first 5 years is very valuable to them and growing up in those emotions and all that stuff. And yeah, it's awesome to see, man. So you're not bragging. It's great to see.
I'm just happy. That's
Yeah.
I'm happy and I'm grateful for my situation. Yeah.
So you should be, man. Being involved in your son's life is fucking awesome. As we mentioned before, you couldn't have been here. Who knows?
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing. I think every time I look at him, I'm like, fuck, I would have missed this moment. I would have missed this moment. It's just, it just keeps adding things that I get to be grateful for. So, yeah. I smile different when I think about him. Yeah. So,
would you move back there to be closer to him, or you're just gonna stay in Melbourne for now?
That's kind of why moving to Melbourne didn't really affect that until lockdowns. Well, not until lockdowns, but until they started becoming more frequent.
Yeah.
Because where she lives is in regional South Australia, which is a triangle for Adelaide and Melbourne. It's right in the middle.
Okay.
So distance-wise, it's exactly the same. It's just the lockdowns that are stopping me from physically seeing him.
Yeah. Well, fuck off lockdowns and hopefully they can go away.
Correct. If I keep going for too long, I'll just force myself to go back for a while.
Brandon, it would drive you crazy, man.
No.
So you did this, the event, with the weight vest and all that. What kind of events are you looking to do next once hopefully lockdowns go away?
Yeah, so I'm doing another weight vest walk, and that's kind of where that taking the weight off mental health line comes from. I'm doing another one this time in Victoria and going a little bit further. We're going to go 87 kilometres rather than 81. Eventually going to build that up to 100, but this time it's only 87 from Sorrento to St Kilda. I've had a lot of companies and athletes from CrossFit actually jump on board and help me out with the fundraising side of things, which is really cool to see that it's made that reach so far. But we're also planning, I've got a couple of people helping me because it's getting a bit too big for just me to plan and work full time and do all that stuff as well. So Planning a quiz night, a silent auction, a couple of men's breakfasts, which will include like a small group, maybe like 10 people, including myself and one of my mates who will help me facilitate it. We'll do a few of them. Work out together, have breakfast, and just have a conversation. Everyone just sit around and talk. Doesn't have to be all deep and like I'm sad and all that sort of stuff. Like if it gets to that, that's cool because then we're talking. But like it's really just like building that brotherhood around and normalizing talking. But those ones aren't necessarily fundraisers. That they're more just trying to provoke the community around us directly. So yeah, my mate who will help me facilitate it actually has just opened a gym, so we'll be using that space, and he's actually done a lot of this sort of work himself, and it's actually really good to bounce stuff off. So we've discussed the concept, and he'll probably end up helping me more than anyone would be able to. So yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
cool to have that.
You have to come to New South Wales and do one. I'll definitely join you.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, I've actually been talking to a company over there. They're based in Orange, so yeah, we might sneak over there once we're allowed to do a couple of those. So yeah, that'd be good.
Because I love being able to do that stuff and connecting with people in person and for a good cause as well. And I love the physical stuff, so that's all me.
Yeah, definitely, man. We'll make sure it happens then as soon as we can.
For sure. Now, what are some of the resources that I guess helped you get through this? I know you're a big advocate of Are You Okay? What other companies?
Yeah, so Are You Okay were like massive for me purely because the resources they put out there aren't necessarily like call this number will help you. They put out information and they drop little posters here and there where you're like, shit, I can relate to that. So I was actually learning a lot about my behavior patterns and what I was doing, like the sabotage stuff, like running from my problems and like pushing it into other things and then I could blame that if it didn't work out. Like they were posting things regularly that I was just like, I'm doing that. So I started learning through their resources how to change my pathways. But the big one outside of Are You Okay is Beyond Blue for me. I called Beyond Blue that night that I was unsuccessful when I got home. That helped me a lot. They pointed me in the right direction. Yeah, Beyond Blue and Are You Okay for me, but obviously there's so many resources out there like Lifeline. There's callback services or there's text messaging services now where if you're not comfortable ringing, you can just text them and they'll text you back. Someone literally sitting there talking you through your problems and stuff. So I just encourage anyone to not just think like it's too hard. There are literally thousands of people out there waiting for you to call or you to message on these helplines. So yeah, and do the research. Like look at these websites like Are You Okay and Beyond Blue and Lifeline. That they put so much valuable information out there. It's so valuable to read. And you might not be doing it for you. You might be doing it for that guy that is always smiling and you know that life isn't perfect for. Like we need to jump on it because it's not just about us too. It's about our mates, our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, fathers, everyone around us.
Exactly. And like we need to, learn about mental health, all of us, because then we can pick up on those cues when people are a bit off and then we can communicate with them. Hey, are you all right, man? Like, and then try and spark that conversation and get there before it gets to the point of them wanting to take their life. It's about
100%.
being proactive, not reactive.
100%. And I think what's important to know there as well is you're not a professional. They're not needing you to fix their problem. They're needing you to listen to their problem and acknowledge it and validate it. And that, like, one of the most valuable things that I think you can do in that situation is when you provoke that conversation, you need to be ready for them to not be okay. But you also need to know that you're okay to not be the one fixing them, because fixing them, it doesn't exist. You need to be ready to be like, I'm really sorry that you feel that way or that's happening to you. Can I take you to the GP? Can I come with you? Or what can I do to help you right now? What can I do to support you? There's all these little, like, it's all about the language that you use when people are down. If you're if someone's just telling you they're depressed, they want to kill themselves, you peppering them with like positive statements and like cliche sayings is not going to make them feel better. It's going to make them worse. So like just do your research, understand the language around when someone is down and how it can actually affect them.
Yeah, 100%. They just want you to be there for them. And like a lot of males will relate, it's just like dealing with females. They just want to vent to you. They don't want solutions. They just want to vent and for you to be there for them.
Correct. And check up on them. Like if someone said to you, like, I'm frustrated, I'm not enjoying this, like I hate my job, blah, 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 listen to them. And then in a day or 2 or 3 days, check in on them, just see how they're going again. And like, just be there, be constant in their life, because a lot of the time when it gets too far, it's because someone thinks no one cares about them. But if you're constantly reminding them that you care about them, not so much that you're pissing them off, but like just checking in with them, making sure that they know they're seen, that's all they need sometimes.
Yeah, that's the big thing, checking up on them. Like a lot of people send that initial message, hey bro, like how you going? And then they won't check up on them for months. Like send a message every few weeks, hey, how's it going? How's your week been? How's your day been? Because as you said, it makes them feel like wanted and, that someone actually cares for them.
Yeah, and like on that point, if your life's busy and chaotic, set an alarm in your phone. Put a reminder in there. Just check in. Like do it for 3 days. Check in on Tom. Like that's all you need to do.
Yeah, and just think of someone that you haven't reached out to in a while, and be like, hey, like, fuck, it's been months since I've messaged this person. I'm gonna send him a message today and check up on him.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, you probably answered my question previously, but what's a message you could give to someone that's struggling at the moment?
You're not alone and don't give up. I guess everything we have talked about already, like the resources that are out there, the things that are going through your head don't necessarily mean they're true. Like we're a product of our environments, and if we're constantly doing things to please other people, we're not doing anything to please ourselves. So take a step back, slow down, do something for you, reach out to someone, tell them that you hate your job or whatever it might be, you're struggling with a situation in your life. Like just chip away at it. Don't think that it's going to be solved immediately or it's the end. Like that, it's a very fatalistic way of summarizing that, but it's not the end. There is always someone or something you can do to change your situation.
Yeah. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Correct. Mental health wasn't fixed in one either.
Exactly. Now, next question. What does having a better life mean to you?
Oh man, I like that. I'm grateful, man. Like every single day I get to wake up and be like, I think having the perspective of how low I did get is so valuable for me. And it doesn't have to be as far as that for everyone to be grateful for coming out of the hole, but like the friendships that I've made since, or repaired since, like seeing my son grow up, and like I said before, he makes me smile differently. Like it's just so authentic, and like ear to ear, my heart smiles when I think about him. I get to do what I'm doing now and actually make an impact in the mental health space. Like these are all things that I never thought I could do because I didn't think I could do any of it for me, right? Now I've had 71 people reach out to me and tell me their story, or like whatever it might be, through the channels that I've created and the events and stuff. Like it's unfathomable, and sometimes I have to sit back and actually like force myself to appreciate what I'm looking at, because it just seems unreal. And none of it's money related. So It just shows how far that shifted in my head, where I'm like, that shit doesn't matter. The stuff that matters is making an impact on people around you.
Exactly.
And how that makes you feel.
And you're not bragging about, 70 people reach out to you, but like that's awesome to be able to have an impact on that many people's lives. Like it's such a good feeling, like especially for me when I receive messages of people who've listened to the podcast and go, hey, like I really love what you're doing. You've changed my life. Thank you so much. Like it's such a fucking awesome feeling, and like nothing beats it.
Yeah, for real. Like, yeah, I mean, saying 70 people is like, it sounds like a lot, but when you sit back and you go, fuck, I didn't even think 70 people knew who I was. Like, do you know what I mean? Like 70 people is just, it does sound like I'm bragging about it, but I'm really not. I'm sitting there going, fuck, I'm the one that's lucky. I got to touch 70 people. Like, it's just crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy.
You're grateful for life. You're proud of what you're achieving now. Fuck,
100%.
that's what life's about, eh? Being grateful. How do you define success? We've kind of, it's not about money. It's about happiness, but how do you define it?
Yeah, so now the way I define it is the impact that you make. The impact on people's lives that you have. It's not necessarily saving anyone or like redirecting their path, but like the way I get to look at myself at the end of the day and think, today was a good day, today I've done something, is when I get to help someone in some way, or like I know something that I'm saying or doing is resonating with someone and it's helping them shift their path. It's not necessarily like, oh, I earned this today, or I'm this close to buying the new car, or whatever it is. Like that shit doesn't matter anymore. Success is making an impact a positive impact on those around you.
Love that.
I think it's important to put positive in front of impact, because you can negatively impact people as well.
Exactly. Last question. When your time's all up and done on this earth, what would you like to be remembered for?
It's a tough one. I think very much the same though. Like my life mission / goal is to make as big a mark on the mental health space as I can. And like there are days where it's fucking exhausting, like constantly on the phone, or like constantly thinking about what I can do next, how I can change something or provoke something. Like it can be hard, but at the end of the day, like when your mission is to change something as big as that, it's bigger than you, but you can do it. And I think that's obvious by the ripple effect. Like even just connecting with you and people like you, like it's obvious that we are changing it.
Yeah.
And that's the end goal for me. It's just keep making an impact and make it as a bigger dent in it as we can.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story. Hey, as we said, it's going to create a ripple effect, and super grateful to have you jump on, and super grateful to be able to connect with you, man. Like we've built a friendship, and I feel like, we're very comfortable in being vulnerable to each other. So it's awesome to have that connection now.
No, definitely, man. I appreciate the opportunity as well, and reaching out to offer me this. Yeah, it's cool, man.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Can't wait to follow your journey, and hopefully we can link up in person soon and do a walk. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure, man. That'd be great. Let's make it happen.
Yes. For the listeners, where can they find you on social media? So you got your personal page, and then you got your mental health page as well.
Yeah. So on Instagram, my personal page is _James Alexander, and my mental health page is Taking the Weight Off Mental Health, one word. And it's big bright green logo with a head.
Yep. Can't miss it.
Yeah. You cannot. It's in your face.
Awesome, dude. Man, that was an awesome chat. Thank you so much once again. For all the listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.